Life for the first English settlers in Virginia was, incredibly difficult. When they arrived in Jamestown in 1607, they faced a strange and often hostile environment. They had to build their homes from scratch, learn to farm new crops, and defend themselves from dangers they had never known. Their main goal was survival. In this new world, there was no established system of money like they had back in England. They did not have pockets full of shillings and pence to buy what they needed. The familiar coins that oiled the wheels of commerce in London were nowhere to be found in the dense forests and muddy riverbanks of the Virginia colony. This made daily life and trade very complicated. Without official coins, the colonists had to find other ways to trade for goods and services. They often relied on a barter system, which meant trading items directly. A farmer might trade a bushel of corn for a new pair of shoes, or a blacksmith might trade his metalwork for food. This system worked on a small scale, but honestly, it was inefficient and often unfair. How many chickens was a hammer worth? How many hours of labor equaled a sack of flour? It was hard to agree on the value of different items. The colonists also used commodities like tobacco as a form of money, but the value of tobacco could change depending on the quality of the harvest, making it an unstable currency. As the Jamestown settlement grew, the need for a standardized form of money became more and more apparent. The Virginia Company of London, which sponsored the colony, understood this problem. They knew that for the colony to truly prosper and become a successful economic venture, it needed a reliable currency. A stable monetary system would encourage trade, allow for the collection of taxes, and make it easier for settlers to manage their finances. The lack of proper coinage was a major obstacle to the colony's development. It held back the growth of a more complex economy beyond simple barter and trade with the native Powhatan tribes. The idea of creating a special coin just for Virginia began to take shape. This coin would not be a grand piece of gold or silver, but a simple, practical token that could be used for everyday transactions. It would give settlers a consistent way to measure value, making it easier to buy supplies, pay for labor, and engage in local commerce. This was a crucial step in transforming the fragile outpost of Jamestown into a permanent, self-sustaining English colony. The creation of such a coin would be a significant milestone, marking one of the first attempts to establish an English-style economy on American soil, a foundation for the future nation. The Virginia Company of London was a joint stock company, a group of wealthy investors who pooled their money to fund risky but potentially profitable ventures. King James I of England granted them a charter in 1606 to establish a colony in North America. Their primary goal was to make money for their shareholders. They hoped to find gold and silver, just as the Spanish had done in South America. They also aimed to find a new trade route to Asia and to harvest the natural resources of the New World, such as timber, furs, and tar. The colony of Jamestown was, first and foremost, a business enterprise, and its success depended on turning a profit. However, the early years of the Jamestown colony were disastrous. The settlers suffered from disease, starvation, and conflicts with the local Native American tribes. Instead of finding piles of gold, they struggled just to find enough food to eat. The Virginia Company poured more and more money into the colony, with very little return. The investors in London grew impatient. They needed the colony to become profitable, and quickly. To achieve this, they realized they needed to create a more stable and organized society in Virginia, one that could support itself and generate wealth through agriculture and trade, not just through the elusive dream of finding precious metals. As part of their efforts to stabilize the colony, the leaders of the Virginia Company decided to address the currency problem. They recognized that a functioning economy required a reliable medium of exchange. In the early 1610s, under the leadership of Sir Thomas Dale, the colony underwent a series of reforms to bring order and discipline. Part of this new, more organized approach included establishing a proper currency. A dedicated coinage for Virginia would make all economic activity simpler. It would allow the company to pay soldiers and workers, and it would enable settlers to trade among themselves more easily than they could with bulky commodities like tobacco. This led to the Virginia Company's decision to create a special copper token specifically for use in its American colony. This was a practical solution to a pressing problem. Copper was much cheaper than silver or gold, making it suitable for low-value coins intended for daily transactions. The company wasn't trying to create a high-value international currency, it was trying to solve a local problem. This plan was a forward-thinking move. an attempt to impose economic order on a chaotic frontier. The resulting token would become the very first coin specifically intended for circulation in English North America, a small but important piece of economic history. The first coins created for the American colonies were actually struck not in Virginia, but far across the Atlantic Ocean on the small island of Bermuda, then known as the Somers Isles. Around 1616, the Somers Isles Company, an offshoot of the Virginia Company, commissioned a series of brass tokens coated with a thin layer of silver. These coins are famously known as hog-a-money because the obverse, or front side, of the coin prominently features the image of a wild hog. This design was chosen because when English settlers first arrived in Bermuda, the islands were overrun with wild pigs left behind by earlier Spanish sailors. These hogs were a vital source of food for the first colonists. The design of the hog-g money was simple and direct. Besides the hog on the front, the coins had the Roman numerals 12, 6, 3, or 2 above the animal, representing their value in pence, shilling, sixpence, threepence, and twopence. The reverse or backside of the coin depicted a galleon, a type of sailing ship common at the time. This ship represented the vessels that connected the colonists to their home in England, bringing supplies and new settlers across the treacherous ocean. The words Summer Islands were inscribed around the ship, clearly identifying the coin's origin. These tokens were not pure copper, but brass, a copper and zinc alloy, which was then lightly silvered. Although the hog-a-money was made for Bermuda, its story is directly tied to the Virginia Company and the broader effort to establish a currency in the English colonies. The Virginia Company was facing similar challenges in Jamestown and was actively exploring solutions. The creation of the hog-a-money served as a blueprint, an early experiment in colonial coinage. Numismatists and historians believe that these tokens were intended to circulate not just in Bermuda, but also in Virginia, as both colonies were managed by the same group of London investors. The shared governance and economic interests meant that a solution for one colony could easily be applied to the other. These tokens represent a tangible link to the very first attempts at creating an American economy. They were not official government-issued coins in the way we think of them today, but private tokens issued by a commercial company. Yet their purpose was the same: to facilitate trade and bring economic order to a new society. The hoggy money, with its distinctive hog and ship design, was a product of its time, a practical tool created by determined investors to help their colonial venture succeed. They are the earliest numismatic artifacts connected to the English-speaking colonies that would one day become the United States. The hog money tokens were intended to make everyday life in the colonies easier. Imagine a settler in the early 17th century wanting to buy a loaf of bread or a clay pipe. Instead of trying to trade a handful of tobacco leaves or a few chicken eggs, they could simply use one of these small metal tokens. The different denominations, shilling, sixpence, threepence, and twopence, allowed for transactions of various sizes. A shilling token, being the highest value, might be used to pay a laborer for a day's work, while the smaller twopence token would be perfect for minor purchases at the company store. This system brought a level of simplicity and fairness to trade that was impossible with bartering. The value of these tokens was set by the company that issued them. A token marked 12 was meant to be worth 12 pence, or 1 shilling. However, the actual metal in the coin was worth far less than its face value. This is what is known as a fiduciary currency. Its value is based on trust in the issuing authority, in this case, the Somers Isles Company, and by extension, the Virginia Company. The colonists were expected to accept these tokens at their stated value because the company guaranteed them. This was a big step away from commodity money like tobacco, where the value was based on the item itself. Despite the clear need for them, the hog-a-money tokens did not circulate widely, or for very long. There are several reasons for this. Firstly, very few of the tokens were actually minted and sent to the colonies. They are incredibly rare today, which suggests their numbers were always small. Secondly, the colonists were often suspicious of money that was not made of precious metal. They were used to English coins made of silver, and these brass tokens may have seemed unfamiliar and untrustworthy. Some settlers might have preferred to stick with the familiar system of bartering with tobacco, which they knew had real value as an export crop. Furthermore, life in the colonies was still very primitive. The economy was small, and many settlers lived a subsistence lifestyle, producing most of what they needed themselves. the opportunities for cash transactions were limited. While the company leaders in London saw the need for a formal currency, the reality on the ground in Jamestown and Bermuda was that the economy might not have been developed enough to fully support it. The hog money was an idea slightly ahead of its time. It was a brilliant solution in theory, but its practical implementation was hampered by the harsh realities of early colonial life. The ambitious project of the Virginia Company, and with it the circulation of its early tokens, came to an abrupt end in 1624. The company had been struggling financially for years. The costs of supplying the Jamestown colony, defending it, and sending new settlers were enormous, and the profits were minimal. The dream of finding gold never materialized, and while tobacco had become a profitable cash crop, it wasn't enough to save the company from bankruptcy. On top of the financial problems, a devastating attack by the Powhatan Confederacy in 1622 killed hundreds of colonists, nearly a quarter of the English population in Virginia. This event shattered confidence in the company's ability to manage and protect the colony. After the 1622 attack, King James I launched an investigation into the Virginia Company's affairs. The commission found evidence of gross mismanagement, high mortality rates among the colonists, and financial ruin. The king, who had long been at odds with the company's leadership, saw an opportunity to take direct control of the valuable tobacco-producing colony. In 1624, he revoked the Virginia Company's charter, dissolving the company and transforming Virginia into a royal colony, governed directly by the crown. All of the company's assets, including any plans for coinage, were abandoned. With the collapse of the Virginia Company, the authority that backed the hog money vanished. Since the token's value was based on trust in the company, they immediately became worthless pieces of brass. There was no longer an institution to guarantee their value or accept them as payment. Any tokens that were in circulation were likely discarded, melted down, or simply lost. This is a primary reason why so few of these coins survive today. Their official life was incredibly short, lasting only a few years. Their story is a powerful reminder that fiduciary money is only as strong as the institution that issues it. For the next 150 years, the American colonies would continue to struggle with a chronic shortage of coins. Colonists had to rely on a confusing mix of foreign coins, Spanish silver dollars, French louis d'or, and English shillings, along with paper money issued by individual colonies, and the familiar barter system. The dream of a uniform American currency would not be realized until after the United States won its independence from Great Britain. The disappearance of the hog money marked the end of the first chapter in American coinage, leaving a long gap before the next attempt would be made by a new, independent nation. After the American Revolution, the newly formed United States of America faced the challenge of creating a national identity, which included establishing its own official monetary system. For years, the states had been using a jumble of foreign coins and unreliable paper currency. The Coinage Act of 1792 changed everything. This landmark legislation, championed by figures like Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson, established the United States Mint in Philadelphia and authorized the production of the nation's first official coins. The act specified the denominations, designs, and metal compositions for the new currency, based on a decimal system of dollars and cents. The very first coin struck for circulation by the U.S. Mint for the public was the 1793 flowing hair large cent. This coin was made of pure copper and was roughly the size of a modern half-dollar, making it much larger and heavier than today's penny. The design of this coin was deeply symbolic of the new nation's values. The obverse featured a portrait of Lady Liberty, her hair flowing freely behind her, a powerful image meant to represent freedom. The word liberty was inscribed above her head, and the date, 1793, was placed below. This was a deliberate choice to feature a symbol of liberty rather than a portrait of a living leader, like a king, which was common on European coins. The reverse of the flowing hair cent featured a simple chain of 15 links, meant to represent the 15 states that made up the Union at the time, the original 13 plus Vermont and Kentucky. Within the chain, the denomination was written as 1 cent, and the fraction 1 over 100 was placed below it. However, this chain design was not popular with the public. Some people felt that the chain was a symbol of slavery or bondage, rather than unity. The criticism was so strong that the design was quickly changed later in the same year to a wreath, which was seen as a more positive and classical symbol of victory and honor. The 1793 flowing hair cent was more than just a piece of money, it was a declaration of national sovereignty. It was a physical manifestation of the United States' independence and its ambition to create a stable and unified economy. Unlike the earlier Virginia Company token, which was a private commercial venture, this coin was the product of the federal government, backed by the full faith and credit of the new republic. It marked the true beginning of a national coinage system in America, setting a precedent for all the coins that would follow and fulfilling the long-held dream of a currency for the American people. The American copper penny has gone through a remarkable transformation since the first large cents of 1793. The early designs featuring Lady Liberty changed several times during the first half of the 19th century. After the short-lived chain cent, the design was updated to the wreath cent, and then to the draped bust, classic head, and braided hair varieties. All of these coins were large, heavy copper pieces that were honestly kind of cumbersome to carry. By the mid-1850s, the price of copper had risen, and it was costing the U.S. Mint more than 1 cent to produce each penny. A change was clearly needed to make the coins smaller and more economical to produce. In 1857, the large cent was officially discontinued and replaced with a much smaller penny, similar in size to the one we use today. The first small cent was the Flying Eagle cent, which was made of a copper-nickel alloy, giving it a pale, whitish appearance. This coin was only minted for 2 years, and was quickly replaced in 1859 by the Indian head cent. This iconic design, featuring Lady Liberty wearing a Native American headdress, became one of the most beloved and widely circulated coins in American history. It remained in production for 50 years, becoming a familiar sight in the pockets and purses of Americans during a period of great national growth and change. The year 1909 marked a major turning point in the penny's design. To commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the U.S. Mint introduced the Lincoln cent. This was the first time a real person and a U.S. president was featured on a regular issue American coin. The obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, featured the now famous portrait of Lincoln. The original reverse showed 2 stalks of wheat, earning it the nickname Wheat Penny. This design lasted until 1959, when it was replaced by an image of the Lincoln Memorial to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The composition of the penny has also changed dramatically over time. The Lincoln cent was originally made of 95% copper. However, during World War II, copper was needed for the war effort, so in 1943, the penny was made of zinc-coated steel, creating the famous steel penny. The coin's composition was changed again in 1982 due to the rising cost of copper. Since then, the penny has been made mostly of zinc, with only a thin coating of copper. This evolution from pure copper to copper-plated zinc reflects the changing economic realities and technological advancements over more than 2 centuries of American history. The journey of America's copper coinage, from the privately issued hog money of the early 1600s to the modern Lincoln cent, tells a story that is much larger than just the history of money. These small, everyday objects serve as powerful artifacts that reflect the nation's growth and transformation. The crude brass token of the Virginia Company represents the fragile beginnings of English settlement, a commercial venture struggling for survival on a wild frontier. Its failure mirrors the failure of the company that created it, a testament to the immense challenges of colonizing a new world and the limitations of private enterprise in building a nation. The appearance of the first official United States cent in 1793 marks a profound shift. This coin was not created for the profit of distant investors, but for the citizens of a new, self-governing republic. Its design, featuring Lady Liberty instead of a monarch, was a bold political statement. It symbolized a break from the old world of kings and empires and the embrace of new ideals of freedom and democracy. The establishment of the U.S. Mint and a national currency was a critical step in unifying the states and forging a national economy, turning a loose confederation into a more cohesive and powerful nation. As the United States expanded and matured through the 19th and 20th centuries, its coins changed as well. The transition from the large, heavy copper cents to the smaller, more practical Indian head and Lincoln cents reflects a nation becoming more industrialized and modern. The designs themselves captured the spirit of their times. The Indian head cent, though a romanticized image, spoke to America's fascination with its own frontier history, while the Lincoln cent honored a president who saved the Union, becoming a symbol of national unity and resilience in the face of division. It became the coin of the people, a constant presence in daily life. Today, while the future of the physical penny is debated in an increasingly digital world, its history remains incredibly significant. Each change in its design, size, and metal content tells a piece of the American story. From a token of a fledgling colony to the symbol of a global superpower, the copper coin has been there through it all. It has witnessed war and peace, depression and prosperity, division and unity. These coins are not just currency, they are miniature monuments, tangible pieces of history that have passed through the hands of generations of Americans, connecting us to the struggles and triumphs that have shaped the nation. In conclusion, the story of America's first copper coins is a fascinating journey through time, beginning with a humble token and evolving into a symbol of the nation itself. The Virginia Company's Haga money represents the very first, tentative step toward creating a monetary system in the English colonies. It was a practical solution born out of necessity, an attempt by a commercial enterprise to bring order to the chaotic economy of the Jamestown settlement. Though its circulation was brief and its impact limited, it holds a special place in history as the forerunner of all American coinage, a numismatic pioneer from a time of great uncertainty and hardship. The failure of the Virginia Company and the disappearance of its tokens left a void that would not be filled for over a century and a half. When the United States finally established its own mint, the 1793 flowing hair cent represented something entirely new. It was not the product of a private company seeking profit, but the creation of a sovereign nation built on the principle of liberty. This first official U.S. copper coin was a powerful assertion of independence, a tool designed to unite the states and fuel the economy of a young republic. Its design and very existence were deeply intertwined with the identity of the new United States. The subsequent evolution of the American penny, from the large cents of the early republic to the iconic Indian head and Lincoln cents, mirrors the nation's own development. Each version of the coin is a snapshot of its era, reflecting the country's values, artistic tastes, and economic realities. The shift to smaller coins, the introduction of President Lincoln's portrait, and the changes in metal composition all tell a story of industrialization, national identity, and adaptation. These coins were not just used for commerce. They carried messages and symbols that became part of the fabric of American life. From the shores of colonial Virginia to the pockets of citizens today, copper coins have been a constant thread in the American narrative. They began as a simple tool to overcome the challenges of a barter economy and grew to become enduring symbols of freedom, unity, and history. They are tangible links to our past, reminding us of the long and often difficult journey from a collection of disparate colonies to a unified nation. The history of America's copper coins is, in many ways, the history of America itself, written in metal.